Good evening. I'm going to be previewing, it's a first ever for me, on a vlog, event 2. I've got all my notes with me, so hopefully that'll help me through it. So bear with me. I mean, I haven't got my glasses on. I don't want to wear those bloody things again. I've had a few people saying, get them changed. They're a bit wonky, but yeah, I've got my notes all sorted for my tips that I've just put up on Twitter. It starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. Just a recap about today. Many thanks to lots of people who've messaged me about Fraser Patrick. Absolutely thrilled that he came through. I don't think there've been too many people that really would have fancied Patrick at the start of Q School. He's sort of one of the sort of lesser names, but by God, is he tough as nails as well. Today he beat Li Paifan and Bai Langning, two really good Chinese players. He showed his toughness against Bai Langning. In the third frame, he needed a snooker, and he was going on for ages. I was thinking, God, how long is this going on? Eventually, obviously, got this snooker and pinched it up by a point to go 3-0, and then eventually won 4-1. Yeah, really, really tough player. Every credit to him, and every credit to Peter Lyons as well. He's 51 years old. He's no spring chicken, and he had some cracking wins on the way. I think even his second match, he beat a lad called Connor Benzie, who's a really good English amateur. Obviously beat Michael White, and then beat Ian Burns in the final round, which is a really good win as well. Yeah, fantastic for him. It's those two are so similar that I wouldn't call them the great, brilliant professionals, but they're really tough, and they just know how to get through in Q School. So yeah, fair play to them. And the other two qualified, Jackson Page. He's going to go on leaps and bounds, and I think the same can be said about Wan Sai-jun. I don't think either of those two are going to be dropping off the tour in the next few years. I think they'll kick on now. We move on to obviously event 2. Obviously, I've put my tips up on Twitter in the last half an hour from me recording, and I'm going to go with event section 1 first, and I've put up Rod Lawler. In this section, Michael White he's got a very, very good chance. Let's say that first and foremost. He's a similar price to what he was in the first event. I think he's got a very, very sort of comfortable 3 or 4 wins, possibly. And then I feel like he could play Rod Lawler in about the 4th or 5th round. And I feel like Rod Lawler is a sort of very similar sort of player to Peter Lyons. And he's the type of player that could really wind Michael White up. It's very well documented how slow a player he is. He's nicknamed Rod the Plod. He's dour player. But as I say, there's not a lot in it between him and Peter Lyons. And I do think there's a bit of value in Rod Lawler at 10-1 here. As I say, going into sort of the section, I think he's got a really, really, really good chance. If you look at the first event, he played and lost to Mitchell Mann, which was a 4-2 defeat. Now, in that match, he had a break of 129, and losing to Mitchell Mann is definitely, it's not a bad result. Obviously the result is bad, but, on the face of it, I mean, Mitchell obviously was one match away from qualifying himself. He's qualified in this Q School in 2012 at Q School, so he's got that in his locker. Last season he beat Jordan Brown. He won the Welsh Open. He lost in a decider to Chetchar and Nu. They were both in the Gibraltar Open. Looking sort of down in the draw, Sai-Jai Wee's in there, who lost to Michael Giorgio earlier. Very, very well respected in this draw. He's about the same sort of price as he was in the first event, around about 3-1. Pretty decent chance. The other one I did like, but he's no price now, so I won't be tipping him. He's Ross Muir, who had a really good run in the first event. Apparently he opened up 20-1 on Betfair Paddy Power before they took the market down for, I don't know why, but they did, which was a crazy price. But he's around about 6-1 now, so forget him. But Lawler really does look the solid sort of type here, and I think double figures is a little bit disrespectful for him. He's still a good player. I mean, the World Championship as well, he beat Wan Sai-jun, who's just qualified, 6-5 on the black. So, he has still got it, and he's a tough match player at this level. The other player I like in the section is Daniel Womersley, who I think I mentioned in one of my vlogs when I tipped him to beat Ryan Davis. Hey, I think he's a little bit overpriced at 40s. I think he should be around about the 25-1 region. He's in the same sort of mini section as Lawler, so they might meet. But Peter Lines is out of that section, so that sort of opens it up for Womersley. He's got Chris Totten first, probably. He starts in the second round. Totten is a former professional from Scotland. I think Womersley will win that. He got beat by Dwayne Jones in the third round, I think, before the end. So it'd have been like in the round 5. They lost to Dwayne Jones. Again, no disgrace in that. I mean, I'll rerun sort of what I said in my last vlog about him. I say I had some good information from his coach up north, a guy called Ian Williamson. Said he's really, really playing well, and he feels he's got a very good chance of qualifying one of the events. So I'm going to give him a whirl at 40-1. Going into section 2 now. The guy that really stood out to me right from the start was Hammad Meyer. I actually think he's quite stingy value at 10-1. I know you'll probably say, well, why are you putting him up for them? But I just can't get him out of my head, really. I think he's got a really good chance. I mean, he lost in the 5th round to James Cahill, 4-3. He would have played Bai Langning today if he'd have got through that. And then he lost nothing in defeat there. I mean, I think Cahill knocked in quite a good break in the decider. But in the rounds before that, he'd been really, really solid. I think he's got a really obvious chance in his sort of mini section. In the bottom half, he's got players like David Lilly, Sean Harvey, Dwayne Jones, Liu Honghouse, Sam Baird, Craig Steadman. He hasn't got to actually play any of those until probably the final round. In his little section, he's got Brian Ochoisky, Billy Joe Castle, Paul Davison. These players are all the same sort of price as Meyer as well, which is crazy. I still got every faith in Meyer. Lost nothing in defeat today. Classy player. if you read back what I wrote in the first event, same rules apply here. I think he's got a great chance. 25s obviously was a much better value. I think he should be sort of 14s or 16s, but I can't let him be unbacked. I really do like Meyer a lot. And given the draw, it's open for him, and I'm going to go with him. In the same section as Meyer is a guy from Poland called Mateusz Baranowski. He's a two-time Polish amateur champion. Earlier this year, he played in the Polish amateur again, and he lost in the semi-final. He had 14 breaks over 50 in that tournament. There was 2 tons. One was a 134, so he can play. He's useful. There's a few clips of him, videos of him on YouTube. One of those tons in that Polish amateur was a quarter-final. He's got quite a funny sort of action on the shot. He's left-handed, and he plays to the sort of far left of his chin. But obviously it's effective for him. Last year he lost in the last 16 in this, so in the round before the final round, he lost to Leo Fernandez 4-2. In the rounds before that, he beat Farrukh Ajaib, who qualified in one of the events. He beat Ross Borman, an ex-pro called Jeff Cundy, who's a useful player, before the loss to Leo. In the year before, in 2019, he beat Riley Parsons. Now, Parsons, in the event after he beat him, he actually qualified in that event. He then lost 4-3 to Andy Hicks, who's now on tour. He got through in Q-School last year. And in one of the other events, he lost 4-3 to Peter Devlin, who got on tour last year as well. So he can compete without any shadow of a doubt. I mean, in his section of the draw, it looks quite an open little bit in this mini section. Paul Davis, the old Welsh player, he lost to David Lilly in the first event. He looks a bit of a threat. He's about 80-1. But I thought Baranowski was better value at 100. There's Julian Leclerc, who I did put up in the first event, but he's a way short. I mean, he's like 16-1. And I don't think there's a lot between Baranowski and Leclerc. I did ask someone who I know who knows Baranowski, and they don't think he's far behind Katka Filipiak, who's on tour, who's a very useful left-hander as well. So that's that. And then I spoke this evening to Leo Fernandez's partner, who's Jimmy Robertson's sister, and she also told me that obviously Leo played him last year, and he thinks he's a very useful player, very dangerous potter, and capable of a good run. So 100-1, it's a big price, and I think he's definitely worth a go as well. Go on to section 3, and this one really did me over a little bit. Originally, I was going to go with Florian Nusel from Austria. He's priced at 22-1. Now, the only reason I've sort of changed my mind on him is that I think he's improved the last year, but in the last couple of years at Q-School, he's struggled. He's got quite a tricky draw. He's got Ian Burns in his section, Sahel Vahedi, Eden Sharov. There's likes of Alex Clenshaw, Michael Judge, all in his section. That's not going to be easy for him. As much as he's a 4-time Austrian amateur champion, he's had some really good runs in like world amateur, world under 21s. I think he's a former under 18 finalist when he lost to Jackson Page in 2018. In the first event, he lost to Bai Langning 4-0. I just feel that there's better value in even though he's a little bit shorter in the price, in Leo Fernandez, who I mentioned earlier. Last year in this Q School, Leo lost in 2 final rounds. He lost to Zach Surety in one, and I can't think off the top of my head who he lost to in the other one. But in all those events, he beat really good players at amateur level. Again, I spoke to Leanne, who's his partner, earlier, and he said he was really unlucky in the first event. He lost to Ian Burns 4-1. He twice went into the pack, and apparently a red went in both times when he was in the balls. So he might have to play, obviously, Burns again, who, obviously I feel he's got a very good chance. Yeah, Leo is in a section that he's got by Lang Ning. Now, I do worry a little bit about him, how he will react to the loss today to Fraser Patrick. That could be sort of into the unknown for him. John Astley's in there, who I tipped in the first event. I mean, he's got a good chance, but he's around about 10-1 to qualify. I'd much rather be with Leo at 18-1. If he can actually get through that sort of mini section, the section above looks quite weak to me. There's Coldish Joe Howe, Adam Duffy, Patrick Wallace are the only sort of 3 decent players in there. And I think Leo's better than all 3 of those. So, yeah, 18-1 I thought was just a bit better value. And he's a lot more consistent at this level than Florian Nusel. The other player who I put up was Robbie McGuigan at 33-1. I put him up against Harvey Chandler. He lost on a respotted black 4-3. I think he'll come on a lot from that. I do really rate this lad. I think he's really, really talented. Played at the World Championship and lost 6-5 to Mitchell Mann. He was 5-2 up in that. Yeah, I mean, best of 7. I think that Robbie's a dangerous player. He's in the same section as Ian Burns as well. Yeah, he actually made when he was 3-0 down against Harvey Chandler, he won the next 3 frames with breaks of 82, 79, and 50. So it shows that he's in decent nick. With a bit of luck, I think 33-1 is decent value, especially when you look at some of the players who are below him in the betting. Off the top of my head, Barry Pinchers, I think, is like 18-1. Oh, ridiculous. I mean, I think McGuigan's as good as a lot of players in the sort of the region of 16-1 to 25-1. So I think 33 is really good value on Robbie McGuigan from Northern Ireland. Into section 4, lastly, I'll try and keep this pretty short and sweet. I'm really confident on Mitchell Mann and Michael Giorgio in this section. Mann first. I'd sort of make him sort of like the moral winner of that awfully hard section in first event. He had some tough matches on the way. I mean, he beat Aidan Sharav, Rod Lawler, Dwayne Jones. I mean, you can't get much tougher than that. And then he gave Wan Sai-jun a cracking game. He lost 4-2, but he was 3-0 down. He looked like he was probably going to make it 3 each until Sai-jun sort of did the business in the 6th frame. In the whole tournament, he knocked in 10 breaks over 50, 2 of them being tons. Yeah, I think he's overpriced at 6-1. I think he's at this level as good as sort of as anyone in this event left in now. I think he should be more like sort of 4-1 mark. So 6-1. He's top bet on Mann. I think he's got a great chance, and I think he'll play. There's a good chance he could face Michael Giorgio in the final round. I say Giorgio really lost nothing in the first event. Lost to a free roll in Jackson Page in the final round. The round before that, he beat Shai Jai Wee. I think that was the round before, but in the round, he beat Oliver Brown in the penultimate round, but the round before beat Sajai Wee. Probably no one harder in the whole entire event than him. In the whole of the tournament as well, he knocked in 13 breaks over 50, 2 tons. He's got Lee Pyfan and Alfie Burden as the sort of the chief threats in his section. I think he's better than both of those two. Probably the worries is he over the defeat to Page? Can he get it out of his brain quickly? I think he can. And this James Cahill is in the same section as sort of the mini section with Mitchell Mann. Cahill's about 3 to 1. Well, absolutely ridiculous how Cahill can be 3. I think he's 3 or 4 to 1. How on earth can he be shorter price than Mitchell Mann? Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'd fancy Mann all day long if they face each other. Mann is so much more consistent. He's really tough. I really do fancy it being Mann versus Giorgio in the final round. And I've put 1 point win on Giorgio, but I'm quietly confident that it'll be Mann in the final round as well. So just a recap of my selections. Section 1, I've gone with Rod Lawler at 10 to 1 with Bet365. And I've gone with Daniel Womersley, which is also with Bet365, 40 to 1. Section 2, Hamad Meyer at 10 to 1. And Matthias Baranowski at hundreds. My third section, Robbie McGuigan at 33 to 1. Leo Fernandez at 18 to 1. And then section 4, Mitchell Mann at 6 to 1. And Michael Giorgio at 11 to 4. Fingers crossed we can, add to the profit made from Fraser Patrick. And yeah, thanks very much for listening. It's been 22 minutes, and we're not far off midnight, I'd imagine now. Thanks a lot, and any more, I'll be hopefully doing some more daily tips for the event too. Thanks very much again. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.